Ysgol Calon Cymru, it's a school of roughly 1,000 pupils with a sixth form and also with a really vibrant Welsh stream. What we knew we wanted to do was to put learning at the heart of the assessment and the recording and reporting process. We identified a project which essentially, first of all, would create a dialogue, and that dialogue to be between teacher, pupil and parent or carer. The other principle of the work was actually what a visual representation of learning could look like. And then, of course, we needed really strong leads of the piece of work as well. So two of our assistant heads, Sarah Cuthbertson and Ross Bennett, aligned their work with the National Inquiry with this element of the school's work.
Throughout our journey towards Curriculum i Gymru, I mean, as every other school, it's been an extensive journey. We've trialled lots of different approaches, and assessment was really something we really needed to discuss. It was something that we needed to explore and make it right for our learners here at Calon Cymru. So both Ross and I are really creative people, obviously being the head of DT and background of art with Ross. A visual representation of learning is something that we're really looking for and aiming to get. We then sort of looked at and we sort of researched different visuals that were currently out there, things like the Apple Watch when you're filling up the rings and you're filling up the petrol tank and different gauges. And that's where, in terms of a quick snapshot of learning, that radar diagram is really, really important.
With that in mind, we selected a Year 8 group on both campuses. One was an art class on the English stream on the Llandrindod campus, and the other was the Welsh stream on the Builth campus. First of all, we focused on the ideas that we had, and we drew up the non-linear illustrated way of showing progression. We showed pupils aspects of that, and to show them how we would report in future, and how they could track their own progression within subject areas visually and not just through formative comments and teacher input.
What we did was map out the descriptions of learning to go alongside it, and actually it was far too wordy. We sort of took the I can statements, and then the formative part of it would be the can you. So the parent would see, I can do this, I can do that, and the learner would say, I can do this. And then the really formative comment from the teacher to say, well, can you now do this? Which hopefully then would allow the learners to progress. Pupils were reaching a level, and we were actually reporting on levels for these pupils. The levels would go home. But actually, what does that mean? What does that mean for our pupils? Does it actually tell us what they're learning, how they learn it, why they're learning it, what they can achieve? When actually the answer is no, it's just a number. And what we really want to know is what our children are learning, why they learn it, and how they can then make that progress, and how we can help them make that progress. Because us as teachers, yes, we're professionals in those pupils' lives, but the parents are also a massive part, obviously, of that pupil's life. So why are we not involving them in this reporting, in our reporting practices?
From that standpoint, we went to further discussions with the head and with parents, and then we developed what we thought was a pupil-focused parents' evening and a pupil-focused report. And those two aspects really changed that interaction that happened within that parents' evening, and it laid the onus on the pupil to explain to the teacher and to the parents what they were doing, what they were really good at, and what they needed to improve.
During that parents' evening, Charlie was given a couple of questions and guided through how he felt his learning and his progress had been developed in that subject, which was really for two parents to listen to how he's getting on and have that richer detail. It was more informative. He was showing his independence with his learning. So from my point of view, that parents' evening was more focused around him as opposed to listening to what the teacher had to say about his learning. My child is particularly very quiet. I struggle to get any in-depth information about what he's learning, what subjects he's been doing. So to hear how he was, the activities that he was doing in DT, how Miss Cuthbertson was recognising the good initiative things that he was doing. It was just, he was a little bit nervous to start with about sharing the work and the information that we were doing, but then just to see how he was really starting to come out of his shell, it was just a joy as a parent to sit back and watch.
The radar diagram would be on the reports going home, so the written reports, if you like, going home. Within the parents' evening, when we were talking to the learner, I actually recorded where they thought they were on the radar diagram, so that you've got those two diagrams that you can really compare. That in itself then starts a narrative and a dialogue around that individual learner. Even though it was really beneficial for the pupils to be able to discuss their learning, for me as a teacher, it was part of a professional learning for me, because actually now my pedagogy is completely changed, and how we run the DT department is completely changed, and just allowing for that independence, just allowing the pupils to be able to learn, make mistakes, revisit it and then develop and make progress. That's what it's all about in Ysgol Calon Cymru. That is our curriculum I Gymru.
I would like to see that process rolled out across the subjects, for the pupil to be more involved in terms of the parents' evening, and them actually leading and sharing their learning is a massive positive way forward.
It's really good from a peer assessment point of view and a self-assessment point of view. So we've got all three aspects, teacher, peer and self-assessment, all wrapped up into one nice little assessment model.
How we develop it is possibly a little bit still up in the air, but we're more than happy just to keep developing, keep exploring. It's just something we just need to keep trialing.